Hello.
Greetings.
Very nice of you to join us, or join me. I'm Michele.
I'm Jason.
Very nice to meet you. Can you spell your name?
Jacessa.
Ah,
Jason.
very nice. So, reading about the origins of Christopher Columbus, being born in Genoa and, taking his sea early and being, part of a life that should have been, not a miller, but creating cloth and being a merchant like your father. So what was the difference between the life that your family was living and the call of the sea?
Well, one was centralized and one was always traveling.
Did it impress you to see the comings and goings of the ships day in and day out?
Yes. It's always a wonderful sight to see many ships in the docks. Your sailors bustling to and fro, your workers loading and unloading cargo.
Did it inspire imagination?
Yeah, it did. It pretty much allows us to move across an otherwise inaccessible, unhospitable environment.
Well, and bring back treasure, right? In the sense of goods and resources that were new, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what was the inspiration for you besides seeing that firsthand, seeing people's lives change from the exploration? Was there a single spark that just made you go, I want to do that?
It is more of a knowing than a discovery, really. You just know one day that's what you want to do.
Well, at age 14, it's pretty young.
Back then, no, it was not.
I guess with the cooperative nature and sense of, mind to be able to perform a function within a society of a ship. You have your hierarchy of captain and so forth, and you have your function, and so the structure of it, was that appealing to you?
It was more of a less than a necessary thing to do. Because just as you have a crew member who has specific duties, a captain also has duties to keep the ship and the crew alive. So that is how it works. So it's not necessarily yes, it is hierarchy to keep from going chaotic, but it is merely there so that all roles get fulfilled as efficient as possible.
So it was kind of like an early form of, team building and team functionality, because, the person who didn't swab the deck or trim the sail or, they didn't do that function, then, the whole thing would go apart, I would imagine. I have a question. With you diving into that life, in taking voyages and returning and adding your experiences, what was your sense of purpose at that point in your young, up until before the ship you were on at age 25 that was attacked by pirates off of Portugal, and you were shipwrecked and you had to make your way to land? Up until that point, what would you say were the guiding experiences that you were having that were really keeping you where you were?
It was merely drifting, so to speak.
I mean, so being a merchant seaman, traveling to and from with cargo, bringing it back, you were still traveling.
Yes, but at that point, it was more of I was going where the tide took me, so to speak. I was content with to do certain things that I needed to do in life. So in my early years, I wasn't as ambitious as I was in my later years.
Was the turning point the being shipwrecked and going down with the ship and surviving that?
Yes. You try going down with a big piece of wood, and you see how you like it.
Well, being on the end of it in an attack, cannon fire, and I mean, you can imagine. I mean, we don't have that these days, but
No, but you have people who've gone through battles, and they
Right.
still suffer from it, traumatically. It is the same concept. So, regardless if it is you're going down with a ship that's been blown to pieces, or if you're being shot at, it doesn't matter. You'll still be affected by it, at least somewhat.
so how did that affect you?
It made me a bit paranoid. And that a little bit of paranoia was good because you were prepared for future encounters.
What, paranoid for attack or a successful outcome of a...
Anything, really.
So was that the shift to convince you of your destiny of doing something bigger? I mean, a catastrophic event in someone's life has a capability of stripping them down to...
Well, also, another thing, too, is financially wasn't the most stable.
That's why you sold books. You did things that were... Which that surprised me. Did you write books as well?
I've tried. So, yes, it was a very traumatic event to be shipwrecked and all that. But another thing too is the aftermath was difficult to deal with. It made me wish I was still in trying to get to land, because getting replacements was pretty much ripping out your hair. You only had this much to cover this, and here's your losses of payments that needed to be paid out because you lost the cargo. It was just a nightmare.
So the debt factor, it seemed to be a theme that played out in your life, would you say?
Yes, it did.
So at what point were you convinced of your so-called divine providence, of your destiny? Was it after the traumatic, instance of the shipwreck and a shifting in your life?
Well, there was a time where I was spoken to by someone I care about. Basically, they put it to me like this. They gave me a choice of either I can continue on the path I am now and still try to be a seafaring patron, or I could settle down and get another profession.
So how did that feel?
I did not like it. It felt like I was more or less in some form of imprisonment. I did not like the feeling of being, stuck in one place.